long-standing relationships between our nations. I represent a nation that is located in a very problematic and at the same time area which presents great opportunities. And this was the same place of opportunities and challenges for the last 3,000 years, when we had to battle for our identity, battle for our independence, battle for our statehood with the great empires and the great interests that were crossing each other, or as well as being interested in controlling the area for the last 30 centuries. Georgia has been able to maintain its identity, to maintain its statehood, and as Israel being able to recreate its new statehood and new identity in the 21st century. In the end of the 90s, when the Soviet Union collapsed, we started building our own new contemporary nation based on the past, and this past was very much linked with Israeli people and Jewish community in Georgia. A Jewish community that has been settled since the first destruction of the temple and is living in my country prosperously, friendly, and without any confrontation ever. But even more, we can today say that for these tens of centuries, we were together building something that Georgians are proud of, meaning Georgian statehood. Jewish community that was living in Georgia suffered the same problems as ethnic Georgians did. They were part of the invaded country in many aspects. They were part of rebuilding Georgian statehood and bringing it to the 21st century Georgia. At the same time, I think both of us are especially stable nations. This is determined by our past. This is determined by the fact that we are limited in number. We are small nations by numbers, and we control small pieces of land. So in the 21st century, all those things bring new challenges. Georgia has specific challenges in the region. Georgia is neighboring countries Turkey, Armenia, Azerbaijan, and Russia, and actually Europe through its Black Sea, through the Black Sea. So in this context, we are trying to build a Caucasus, a region which is a region of opportunities, a region where countries of East, especially Caspian Sea Basin, and countries of West, the Europe, can find opportunities for partnership, for collaboration, and for development of their joint partnering policies. Yet, Georgia, as a country which is targeted and located as through its geopolitics as a transit country, enjoys great neighborhood policy with Turkey, with Armenia, with Azerbaijan, and is building the transit route which I have already mentioned. But at the same time, we have serious standing problems with Russian Federation. And believe me, for a small country of approximately 4 million people, with not still developed economy, with new democracy, it is very complicated when you have a tension and a standing tension with your big neighbor and the nuclear power. As a result of this tension, Georgia has been occupied and it lost temporarily 20% of its territories. And Georgians living in Georgia are refugees and are expelled from those regions just because of their ethnic identity, because they are Georgians, and they are living as refugees in their own country and in their own state. What is our approach to overcoming all these issues? several principles that we share and several principles that we put forward. First and foremost, we are a country, as I told you, and a nation which is very stubborn and has lived through even more complicated times. A nation that was able to maintain its identity, its unique language, its written alphabet, which is one of the unique alphabets in the world. Out of 13 alphabets, one is Georgian. We were able to maintain it for the 3,000 years. So we are absolutely sure that we'll maintain and continue and strengthen our statehood, and this is a feeling that is in every Georgian. This is something that we politicians build upon when we think about future. So one thing is that we will never accept occupation, and we will never accept the fact that our strong neighbor has decided to violate our rights, the rights that have been approved by international community, and has violated our sovereignty. And we are optimistic in this, and we don't see an option that it will ever be changed, though we know that this is a real complicated situation. The second thing that we consider as principle, and that is based in our approach to our problems, is that the fact that Georgia has been occupied, and the fact that we have a terrible situation with refugees being thrown out of their places where they were living for centuries, will not stop our independent approach and our free approach to deciding on our future, on the freedom of choice of my nation. This will not make an effort. And this is very important, because sometimes the attempts to create problems are targeted to limit you in your decision making, to limit the freedom of your nation, and to limit your own choice on how you develop your society, or in which context you develop your state. And this is very important that we show this to our people, and we show this to our partners, and we show this also to the countries that are trying to trend on us. This occupation will not change our destiny. And the third thing, which is very important, and is principle in our context, is that we will choose only peaceful solution of the problems that we are having. Yes, we've been thrown out of 20% of our territories. Our rights of our citizens have been violated. But the ethnic groups that are living on the occupied territories, we consider them Georgian citizens, and we say that at some point we will all live in a united Georgia, and their rights and a recognition of their interests in one or another form will be accepted by Georgian society. And this is very important, because to build a united country, you must recognize the right of each individual, their rights and freedoms. You must recognize the rights of bigger groups, and you must imply this in a united format. Actually, this is something that we take from our past, because as Israel had its past linked with the King David, who built one of the legendary epochs in your history, we also have a King David to which we look back and in which we see the solution of strong Georgian statehood. And the solution at that point was done by uniting all of the parties into one strong Georgia. At that time, we also had very complicated environment. Parts of Georgia were occupied by different forces. And what our King David did, he gave possibility to each religious group, each ethnic group, to maintain their rights and to maintain their identity after he was able to recreate and reunite with Georgia. So that is the past that we are looking at. And at the same time, we take opportunities from everything that could be used or utilized around us. We are a country which has great economic potential. We are a country that has great extending economic relationships with the European Union. We are building and furthering these relationships. We are actively engaging our friends in East and West into partnership around Georgia. We are a country where you can open business and start up business very easily and with low level of corruption and low level of crime. So we are looking at utilizing our competitive advantages. And finally, we are a society that has been living and enriching itself by diversity. And we continue working on uniting those diversities into a very interesting bouquet, which always has been the standing image and picture of my country. So when I'm talking with you, like I talked with my students and the future leaders and decision makers, I think that the main thing that I can share with you and share also after being 2 days in a wonderful environment here in Israel and in Jerusalem is that we have challenging neighborhood. We have challenging neighborhood, but we have also great opportunities. One of the great things that we both are very much looking for, and this was the experience that I had when I was meeting political leaders here, is that we rely on the fact that being a small state and being a small country brings you solutions when you are looking at the concept of introducing with your neighbors, with your partners, with sometimes conflicting sides, the stable and understandable rules of the game. And those rules of the games, you know, cannot be observed or cannot be policed by any international organization. But what we are trying to do in our international relationships, in our relationships with our friends, we are trying to pursue the concept that peaceful collaboration and peaceful development is based on the principle of trusting something that you sign, trusting, just as in relationships between individuals, trusting written documents and trusting your position on the rights of small countries as well as of the big countries to develop its independent politics and policy. And in this respect, of course, Georgia has a lot to say and share, and we see the same emotions among our friends here in Israel. We have the same to share and the solutions are coming for the whole neighborhood, because really in relationships, whether it is Russia or other big countries, we have our standing truth, the truth that will never stop, continue persuading. And let me finally tell you about the complications in the region. And the region is global and big, and in this region we see that Georgia was one of the cases where we started feeling that the security environment and security policy is not clear and brings some ambiguity. And this was ambiguity in relationship with Russia, which has decided to occupy my country in 2008. Because there was no solution for this ambiguity, we saw that Ukraine basically faced the same destiny. And because even in Ukraine's case we don't see a very clear united international message on an acceptance of the aggressive policy, we now see that the region is going even further complicated, and we now see that on the case in Syria, on the case of ISIS, even more ambiguities are created because there are more players in the region acting independently, acting through their independent action plan, and this is something that brings more complications. So basically what we are sticking to as a country is very firm and clear messages on the rights of the states, the rights of the states that should be observed and supported not only by nearby neighborhood players, but also by globally, by international community, and this globalization is something that we can all contribute to. I think this is some basics that I wanted to share with you. I think that it is more appropriate to give you an opportunity to interact and to have our communication in more direct format, and I will just limit myself with talking on these issues.